Hi, so today we're going to do some recapping of base 10 multiplication division. So base 10 is obviously our number system, and we're looking at how when we multiply and divide by 10, 100, and 1,000, the effect that has on numbers. So we're going to start here with 63.25. When we multiply that by 10, what we're doing is making the number 10 times bigger. Now, the first thing I always do in situations like this is I miss a line and then, or a square in this case, and then I write the number 6325 or the digits 6325 because I know that those digits aren't going to change, but their value is going to change depending on whether they move forwards or backwards within the place value columns. So as this number is going to get bigger, I'm just going to check two things. So first of all, I know that everything is going to move one place value column because of that zero. So at the moment, the decimal point is here on the number, and it's going to move from there, or the numbers are going to move around it. And the easiest way to demonstrate that is to move the decimal point one place. Now, if I was to move it to here, the number would become 3.625, which would make the number smaller than 63 because it would be 6 versus 63. So I know that that can't be correct. And so instead, I'm going to take it the other way so that it becomes 632.5. So that's how you complete that first question on here. And you're looking at questions like that. Okay, now it's the same thing, but this time we are looking at the same number. However, we're going to be dividing it by 10. So again, moving just the one decimal place, going to write those digits down, 6, 3, 2, and 5. Currently, the decimal place is here, and it's going to make the number smaller. So if I jump this way, it becomes 6 instead of 63. So that tells me that I'm doing the right thing by moving my decimal point there, because that alters the value of every other place value column. Right, for our next number, we have got 3,685. Now, again, I'm going to write out those digits. 3,685. I'm going to multiply that number by 100. So I'm going to use my pointer. Now, this is a number with which we can't see the decimal point, but we know that with any number, that if we were to write it out, and we were writing it out, say, where we're doing some workings out, so 3, 6, 8, and 5, we could put zeros here because they would exist. The decimal point would be here, and then those zeros would be there. And the reason those zeros are there is because essentially this tenths column still exists and the tens of thousands column still exists. But for the number 3,685, there are no tenths and there are no tens of thousands. So that's why those digits aren't written in. But for the use of this, it's quite helpful to know that this is where that decimal point would be here. So if the decimal point was here and I'm multiplying by 100, it would move 1, 2. So that means that our final number would end with those two extra zeros, which is maybe before where people have said, oh, if you're multiplying a number by 100, just add two zeros. So that's sort of correct, but it does cause misconceptions because obviously there are times when you multiply a number, as you'll see in question 5, where you don't add any zeros, and the number does get bigger because actually by all we're doing is when those zeros are being included, that's because the place value of every other column along here has gone up by 2 places. So now we have 368,500 instead of 3,685. Okay, so now we're going to do the next number, and actually it is the same numbers as before, so it's 3,685, but this time we're going to divide it by 100. So again, we're thinking about where that invisible decimal point would be, which would be here. And if I'm dividing, the number's going to get smaller. So up here, it was obviously being multiplied, it was getting larger. So dividing by 100 means that if I was to do the 1, 2, it's going to end up being 36.85. So let me just write that down here. So 36.85. Now, the next question is going to be multiplied by 1,000, and you'll see where that rule about not actually just adding zeros, why that doesn't really work. So let me just show you that. So here we have got 0.825. So I'm going to write out my 0.825. and I am going to look at how I would be multiplying that by 1,000. So that what I'm expecting to do here is for the digits to move 1, 2, 3 spaces and 3 spaces to make the number larger. So it's not going to become 0.00 something, but actually this decimal point is going to jump 1, 2, 3 spaces. So that means that the decimal point would be at the end of the number here. So it would look like that, which we also know is the same as 825. So I was trying to rub that out there, and of course it's not working. There we go, 825. So you can see how, with a question like this, it's important not to just learn that we just add zeros, but actually what we're doing is moving those decimal places. So 825. Now we're going to take the same number here, 0.825, and we're going to divide it by 1,000. So I'm going to use a working out space for this. I'm going to do some zeros, and then I'm going to do 0.825, 000, and I'm now going to use my red pen just to show those 1, 2, 3 jumps. So it's starting here. We know this is the green start point. 1, 2, 3. So the decimal point is going to end here. So that means that what I'm actually going to be writing out now is 0.000825. So I've gone from 0.825, divided it by 1,000 has given me 0.000825. Now that we've done that, what I want to do is have a go at using the knowledge that we've just been recapping to complete some missing number equations. So here we've got 45.29. Something happens to it. We don't know what happens, but it becomes 4,529. So first of all, I know very clearly that if I've gone from 45 to 4,500, the number's gone bigger. So I'm definitely going to be multiplying. So I would say that's the first step because that's the easiest step to do is looking at the two numbers and working out, is it bigger now or is it smaller? The next thing that I'm going to do is look at where the decimal point was. So it was here. And now, even though I can't see it, I know that it would be here. So I've jumped 1, 2. So that tells me straight away that I am multiplying by 100. So the missing number there is multiplied by 100. Now for the next question, I've got 364. And then I've got 3.64. So 364.2, 3.642. So it's definitely become smaller. So I'm definitely dividing. And then let's see what I'm dividing by. So the digits are the same, their values are different. So it was here, place value, decimal point was there, and it's now moved 1, 2 to there. So that tells me that I'm dividing by 100. So that's the missing number. For 5.82, I'm going to do the same thing. So I am going from 5.82 to 0.582. So again, I must be dividing. And I'm going to go, it was here and it's now here. So I'm obviously dividing by 10 because it's moved one decimal place. And then for the next question that is similar to this, we have got 8,992 and we end up with 8.992. So it's definitely gotten a lot smaller. So I'm dividing here. And then I'm just going to check how many place value columns that has moved. So it's moved 1, 2, 3. So that means that if I'm dividing by 1,000 because of those 3 jumps means it's those 3 zeros, 3 bases that it's jumped. Okay, what we can then also do with questions like this and our knowledge is that we can actually work out questions where we are moving um, backwards in an equation. So when you are looking at a calculation and you're having to go the opposite direction, that's when you're moving backwards, and we call that inverse operation. So if I know that something times by 10 is 345, if I'm now trying to work out the opposite of that, so I'm going the other direction, I'm essentially taking 345, this number here, and I'm going to divide it by 10 to give me then the number I started with, because then the number I started with times by 10 will give me 345. So let's give that a try. So I'm going to do some workings out here. I've got 345. If I was to put a decimal point in there, it would be here. And so it would move to there. So let's give that a try. Let's put in 34.5. So 34.5. Now let's check that if we go the other way with that, so if we go 34.5 times by 10, so jump, we end up with 345. So we know that that's correct. So for all of these questions, essentially you need to do the opposite of what it's telling you. So here we go with the next one that's already been written. So something divided by 10 gives us 0.579. So I'm going to do my 0.579. It's been divided by 10. So let's see what happens if I times it by 10. So if I jump one place value column, so I end up having 5 now in the ones column instead of 0. So I've got 5.79. That, when I check it, that number divided by 10 gives me this. So this is perfect. Okay, so let's have another go here. So we're now doing the same thing, but we are multiplying by 100. So 37.64 is what we're left with. But this number has been multiplied by 100. So let's see if we can work out what it started with. So 37.64. My decimal point is here. Now, this was 100 times smaller before when it started because it's been multiplied by 100. So that means I need to divide. So 1, 2. Okay. So that tells me that the new decimal place is going to be here. So I also know that I will write a 0 there. So hold that place value column in the ones column. So it'd be 0.3764. When that's multiplied by 100, it gives me 37.4. Now I've got a number here that I'm going to be dividing by 100. And when it's divided by 100, it gives me 220. Okay, so 220 divided by 100. Okay, so if I need to go the other way and I'm trying to work out this missing number over here, I'm going to need to multiply this by 100 to give me this missing number. So going to use that rule we talked about before where we just add 2 zeros, but I'm also going to check that that's correct. Let's see. So if I was multiplying this by 100, one jump, two jumps, which means the decimal place would be here. So here and here would be those 2 extra zeros that I've put on. So then it becomes 22000 divided by 100 gives you that new number. Okay, let's move that out of the way. Now, 2 more questions to go. So these ones are by 1,000. You can guess it's exactly the same process. If I have got a number that is 11562, and that was when it was multiplied by 1,000. Let's say the decimal point was here, and let's do the opposite. So divide by 1,000, 1, 2, 3. So the number that we started with is going to be 11. So 11.562. And then our final one that we've got here is a number that has been divided by 1,000. And when it's been divided by 1,000, it's 32.64. So let's take our 32.64 and let's multiply it. So going the other way, we're going to multiply it by 1,000. So 1, 2, 3. So that tells us that the new decimal point would be here. So we would need that 0, and then that one wouldn't be there at all. So then that gives us the number that we started with, which was 32640.